Now, the deep state, they are pushing their plan forward. Remember, they're not going to deviate from their script. They're not going to deviate from their agenda. Once they started, they're not going to turn around and say, hey, this isn't working. They're going to continue on. The mainstream media is going to push panic, chaos, fear. We have Pelosi and others that are going to push their agenda while this is going on. And there's many different agendas that they're pushing. But we also need to remember is that the patriots already knew their playbook. The patriots were countering their plan. And the patriots' plan, since it's countering the deep state plan, it's going to overshadow their plan coming up very soon. We are getting indicators from all over the place. Now remember, with Q, we are interpreting certain posts and what's coming out right now to try to put together this story. And the plan that anybody can see, and it's all the Q posts, you can go to the x22report.com, you can go to QMap, you can go to any of these places and you can see this. Now, what's very interesting is that we knew the deep state, they were going to use this agenda to try to weaken Trump, to create fear and panic, destroy his presidency, destroy the economy, and allow this event to play out as long as possible. I think they wanted it to go all the way to the election period. The reason why they wanted that is because this way they could push their agenda of vote by mail, which they could manipulate. Because what has Trump and the Patriots done? They've blocked all the exits, all the entrances. They can't get things in or out. Everything that they were counting on with the illegals coming over and everything else to manipulate the elections, it has all been blocked. So everywhere they look, everything was blocked. So this is the only thing they have. And Pelosi was out there and she said the nation must move to a vote by mail system because of the coronavirus crisis. Now, I do believe this is what they were trying to do. Tom Fitton tweeted out, voter fraud warning. After failing last week, Nancy Pelosi plans to try again and end voter ID in next stimulus bill. Yes, she's pushing her agenda. Is that going to work? No, it's not. What has started to happen? We're starting to get word that those FISAs that Comey and the rest were using, well, it looks like a lot of them didn't have supported facts. There were a lot of errors, and they didn't follow the Woods files. This is coming out of Technofog. The IG has completed an audit of the FISA Woods files. Files were missing. Every application they reviewed, 25, had errors and unsupported facts. He continued, what happens next? Per FISC rules, Department of Justice, FBI must inform the FISC of these problems, omissions. We hope to see further actions from the FISC, ordering more reviews, more accountability. Fingers crossed. Then we have Catherine Herridge. She tweeted this out. Breaking, IG Horowitz on FBI FISA applications and supporting docs, so-called Woods files. As a result of our audit work to date, we do not have confidence that the FBI has executed its Woods procedures in compliance with FBI policy. And in the report, it says, we recommend that the FBI perform a physical inventory to ensure that Woods files exist for every FISA application submitted to the FISC in all pending investigations. Representative Doug Collins tweeted out, unbelievable. Inspector General Horowitz found 4 of the 29 Woods files were missing, and in 3 instances, it's possible they never existed. This is exactly why we need to reform our FISA system. We can't let what happened to real Donald Trump in 2016 ever happen again. All this information is coming out right now. FISAgate. That's what we're looking at right now. And they're going to be looking at each and every one of these FISA applications. And guess what they're going to find? They're going to find that they were done illegally. It's already started. And you can see that Trump and the Patriots, they are preparing the narrative to go after all these individuals. And remember, they're not just going to produce them in front of the public and say, these are criminals. They have to build it up. They have to tell a story. They have to make people understand. And it seems that we are getting there. Tom Fitton tweeted this out. Shock poll. Should Hillary Clinton be prosecuted for erasing over 30,000 emails so that the FBI could not read them? Voters overall said yes, 52% to 32% no. Things are changing. People are waking up. People are starting to realize. Now, do I mean 100% of people are going to be waking up? No, but you're going to get the majority, and that majority will explain it to the rest. But this is very important. They need to tell a story. They need to drip it all out because the flood is coming. Now, what's very interesting is we've been listing certain individuals that are getting coronavirus. And we have Chris Cuomo. He tested positive for coronavirus. We also have Google Vice President Vinton Cerf. He tested positive for coronavirus. And this is very interesting because, one, certain individuals are using this to push fear and panic. Two, they're going to use this as a way out somehow, some way. And we'll have to see how this plays out. And I know on the internet, there's all different theories about who has it, who doesn't have it, and what it means. But once again, these individuals, right now, they're pushing fear, and they might use it for other purposes later on. Now, what's very interesting is Technofog. He decided to research what happened with this woman who gave her husband fish cleaner. Remember, Trump came out and he mentioned that hydroxychloroquine could be a game changer. And we've seen cases where they've cured people. The FDA says that doctors now can use it in emergency situations. And I think in the next week or so, we're going to see the FDA come out and say, yeah, guess what? We've been using it. We tested it. It's fine. This is the cure. Now, we haven't gotten that far yet, but how do you stop fear and panic and chaos when the operation is complete? Trump has already set the stage for that. But back to Technofog. He decided to dig into some court records. And this is what he tweeted out. Court records show the wife who fed her husband fish cleaner poison has a history of mental illness, paranoia, depression, and had considered divorcing her husband as far back as 2012. The wife has significant health issues. She testified that she had adrenal gland failure, and steroids and heart medicine are keeping me functioning. While this shows that she and maybe her husband were high risk for COVID-19. Her familiarity with medication doesn't exactly fit the profile of someone who would mix fish cleaner with soda. If you know the regimen type, you understand. And she certainly wasn't shy to seek input from doctors. Transcripts, civil case, show she sought out an occupational health doctor and wanted his advice. As to the mental health struggles, a history of depression, anxiety, anger, alcohol abuse, she denied the alcohol abuse. I am on 3 sleeping pills a night so that I don't have nightmares and so that I can sleep. The sleeping pills, melatonin, Ambien, and Valium all at once. After her car got towed at work, I literally had a breakdown in front of the whole cafeteria. An actual physical mental meltdown. I went nuts. I had a total breakdown. Do you tell your doctor in 2012 that you wanted a divorce? Probably. I'm furious all the time. Finally, we're broke because of my medical situation. Finances, marital problems, anger issues, depression. These raise significant questions when a spouse kills the other. Taking this stuff was her idea. A curious media would get the 911 call and see if there was an autopsy. And you can see that this had nothing to do with Trump, but the news, without looking into any of this, without investigating, they decided to go with this story, which was completely untrue. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that a lot of these deep state players, Comey, Clinton, and the rest, they've been putting out messages on Twitter. And Comey recently put out a new message, and this is a tree with flowers blooming. And he says, spring still comes, and yes, I can use portrait mode. So this brings me back to, when do birds sing? Well, Rose Kennedy says birds sing after a storm, or birds sing during the springtime. I do believe that he's making a decision from his last post to this post. I think he's trying to figure out, should he take option number 1 or option number 2? Very interesting. We had Hillary Clinton tweet out again today, and it said, Chelsea and I wrote a book called Grandma's Gardens about Chelsea's gardening with my mom and my mom gardening with my grandkids. I can't wait until we can safely spend time outside with our loved ones again, and we'll look forward to sharing more with you when this crisis is over. And this reminds me of post 747. This is February 12, 2018. It says, flowers and gardens. Learn the hidden symbolism. Q gave us an encyclopedia.com humanities to social sciences called Slave Gardens to supplement basic provisions provided by their master. Some bond people grew their own foodstuffs and staple crops for personal consumption or sale. Enslaved men and women typically tended these gardens or patches after they had finished their daily or weekly work for their master. What does a flower represent? What does deflower represent? Then we had Barack Obama, and he came out and he tweeted the following. We've seen all too terribly the consequences of those who denied warnings of a pandemic. We can't afford any more consequences of climate denial. All of us, especially young people, have to demand better of our government at every level and vote this fall. Well, you can see what he's doing here. He's using what's this crisis to push forward a certain agenda, and that is to get the young people who have been indoctrinated into climate change, where they think that their carbon footprint and everything else affects what is happening here on Earth. They're trying to use this to push them out and vote in this upcoming election. Remember, they're following their script. They're going along with their plan. Vote by mail. Look what's happening. The pandemic just snuck up on you, and here you have it. Same thing with climate change. It's going to be the same exact thing. So you better go out there and vote. And they're hoping that during the time for the 16-year plan, they were able to brainwash as many as they possibly could to hopefully win this election with the young people. Robert Barnes came out, and this is from Barnes Law, said, see the plan. And I just want to go back to what we saw in the past with climate change. This is what they were telling us. This is what the mainstream media was telling us. 1970, we'll be in an ice age by 2000. 1976, global cooling will cause a world war by 2000. 1989, global warming and rising sea levels will wipe entire nations off the map by 2000. 1990, we have 5 to 10 years to save the rainforest. 1999, Himalayan glaciers will be gone in 10 years. 2000, snow will soon be a thing of the past. 2007, global warming will cause fewer hurricanes. 2008, the Arctic will be ice-free by 2013. 2012, global warming will cause more hurricanes. 2014, the science is settled. No, the science isn't settled. The climate is always changing. And everything that they predicted, guess what? Didn't come true. Now we see Mark Meadows. He has left Congress and he is joining Trump as chief of staff. Now it looks like all the puzzle pieces are coming together. Now, very interestingly, out in California, and I know Q continually tells us to look at California, keep an eye on that. It seems that Governor Gavin Newsom, he is now releasing 19 felons, some of whom killed children, and one convict who murdered a pregnant woman. 2 of the felons are immigrants to the U.S., and Newsom's purpose for commuting their sentences is to have them avoid deportation. And we also see New York doing the same thing. They let go 1,100 inmates. They released them from prison. So it seems like they're putting these people out there, and they might be using them for some type of an event if their plan starts to go south very, very quickly, which it is. Now, very interestingly, I wanted to go back to Trump's tweet that we read in the economic report, where it said, with interest rates for the United States being at zero, this is the time to do our decades-long awaited infrastructure bill. It should be a very big and bold $2 trillion and be focused solely on jobs and rebuilding the once great infrastructure of our country. And at the end, he put phase 4. Now, what's very interesting about this is I went through all the Q posts and I looked for different phases. And there's phase 1, there's phase 2, there's phase 3, but there is no phase 4. So this is very interesting. So if we go back to post 243, it says phase 1, easy to swallow, loss of power influence, good time to prosecute. Just wait until next week. You are the patriots. So what this means is public can understand and accept sexual misconduct and general corruption. possibly insinuating that phase 2 won't be as easy for the public to digest. So if we go to post 797, it says, stay tuned, everything has meaning or purpose, at Jack Getting Nervous, phase 2. And phase 2, the number 2 is in brackets in bold. And this is a marker. We move on to post 2724. This one says, and this is phase 3, a traitor's justice, phase 3, panic in D.C., rats everywhere. For those who decide to save the taxpayers some money, there is no escaping God, which fits into what is happening right now. People are going to make a decision. Flip, help the patriots, or save the taxpayers some money. Interesting. And then we have Tim McG, this is Tim McG4, on Twitter, notice something very interesting. Now remember, Q has talked about the 10 days of darkness, the net going down, social media going down, and they looked at all the different providers, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, Spectrum, WOW, T-Mobile, Metro PCS, and they all had a spike at the same time on March 31st. And this was between like 4 to 7 where they spiked with outages. Now that's very interesting. Then we come to find out that President Trump, he's going to be in a phone call with network service providers in the Oval Office, and it's closed to the press. So I wonder what's happening right now, because that is very interesting. And we also need to remember is that Q has always told us that everything has meaning. Everything that we're looking at, dates, pictures, you name it. It has some type of meaning, and we need to research it. Now, Harry Shabubi, he tweeted this out. Thought you might like this. Where we go one, we go all. Now, what's very interesting is there's a picture of the Comfort ship, and there's 3 red crosses across the ship. Now, if we go back to post 123, it says, nothing is random. Everything has meaning. And in this post, it's plus or across, across, across. So back then, this was November 2017, was Q letting us know that they were going to send these ships to LA and New York. It's starting to feel that way. Then we have the U.S. Marines. They put out a video, and in this video, it shows someone's altimeter. They're on a plane. They're going to be skydiving, and it has the date there of April 4th, 2020. Now, someone took a screenshot of this, and this individual is General Flynn is a hero, gave us a clean version, and it says 4th, 04, April 2020, which is very interesting. So I decided to go back to Q's post back in 2018 because I do believe during this period it tells some type of story of what is happening right now. And when I go back to post 994, this is April 2nd, this is before April 4th because I wanted to see what was coming up. So I went there and I said 994, this is April 2nd, 2018. It says operators on site, deep, safe. Then we went to post 995. Now this one is very interesting. It says future proves past. Several today. 1 day, and that's in brackets in bold. Military, border, keep watching the news. Then it says April, and the A is bold and in brackets. Maybe alert. And then it says Moab. Then we go to April 4th. That was the next post here, 1020. And it says, used against them. National Guard now active. Refer to old drops. SANG, National Guard. The Wave. And then post 1027, April 4th. POTUS will be up all night. Pray. Watch the news tomorrow. So April 4th is a Saturday. And this is very interesting. I'm not saying something's going to happen, but the indicators are pointing to this time frame. Now, is it going to happen exactly on this date? We don't know. But we're starting to put together a lot of the pieces. What's very interesting is that CJ Truth caught something on a Twitter feed from U.S. Central Command. Now, in this Twitter feed, they have the F-15E Strike Eagles with these different pictures of them flying around. But before this, it says, "Fly, Eagles, fly." Now, that brings us back to post 180. And this is November 2017. And it says, what U.S. president was nicknamed Eagle by the United States Secret Service? Where it says, "Fly, Eagles, fly." That would be Bill Clinton. So it seems that U.S. Central Command right now is indicating that Bill Clinton is going to fly? Run? I don't know. But that's very interesting and very specific. And then in New York, we have the Empire State Building. It's lit up in red, and there's a flashing light on top. And this reminds me of Rigged for Red. This is post 3891. And it shows Trump in a tweet. Dan Scavino tweeted this out, and it says, "My next piece is called 'Nothing Can Stop What's Coming,' Trump playing a violin." And this was a Q-proof back then. And under it, it says, "Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Rig for Red." And this entire JPEG picture is called "Pain Coming." So was this the signal where the Empire State Building is lit up in red? I know the news is out there saying that it's for the emergency workers and all of that. But is this the signal that Q knew that it was coming, where this is the red signal, rig for red, we're ready to surface? Now let's take this one step further. Dan Scavino Jr. tweeted this out. "Challenging times are ahead for the next 30 days. But the more we dedicate ourselves today, the more quickly we'll emerge on the other side of the crisis. The more we commit ourselves now, the sooner we can win this fight and return to our lives." Now, in this tweet, it has a picture of Trump walking out of the Oval Office, and there's two evergreen trees on either side. It's very interesting, because evergreen is the code name for Hillary Clinton. But let's think about this for a second. When Trump decided to extend the social distancing for 30 days, why didn't he pick 15? Why didn't he pick 10? Why didn't he pick 20? Why 30? Because when this initially began, he picked 15. Now it's 30. And I know we've had these posts with Flynn in them that referred to done in 30, but now it's starting to make a little bit more sense that maybe this entire operation is done in 30. This is post 970. This is what it says. "Done in 30, house cleaning, White House secured, final stage." So are they talking about this operation that they are now moving forward with? Is this going to be done in 30? Exactly 30. Starting tomorrow. Maybe. And then we have John F. Kennedy, who put out a tweet. Yes, he's dead, but it's the Twitter account, the official Twitter account. And we know that Q references Kennedy quite a bit. And this is what it says. "The hour of decision has arrived. We cannot afford to wait and see what happens. While the tide of events sweeps over and beyond us, we must use time as a tool, not as a couch." And from many of the indicators that we've been seeing, all the different tweets coming out of Dan Scavino Jr., coming out of Trump, coming out of the U.S. Marines, coming out of CENTCOM, the Navy, and the rest, and all the other things that we are seeing, it seems like there is some type of major operation. Now, do I think we're going to see bombs drop, planes, arrests right in front of our faces? No, I think this is going to be done silently. I do believe that some of these people are given choices right now. This is why we see the strange messages that are coming out from them. And the patriots are using this crisis as a cover to push their operation forward. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. Again, we're interpreting the plan. We're watching it happen, unfold real time. And we know that Q just couldn't say, hey, by the way, this is step 1, 2, 3, 4, because then the deep state would know what was going to happen. They wanted to keep that part a secret, but they also wanted to tell us that they were doing something. And we know there are two things happening right now. The deep state, they're pushing their plan. The patriots know their playbook, and they're using it against them, where they're exposing everything, allowing people to relax, not have that busy life that they once had so they can wake up and see what's really going on. They can think they have time. And I do believe that a lot of things are about to change for the good. Remember, Durham, he's finishing up his investigation during spring and summer. Q has told us that it's going to be a very hot spring and summer. All these things are going to come together at once. And I do believe that they need to remove the power structure from these individuals so they can go after these individuals without fear of false flags, fear of retaliation, fear of the control that they would have if the power structure was still in place. And I believe this is what this operation is all about.